Hey there, friends. A little bit of an update on the 6-year-old who shot his teacher over in Virginia a couple of weeks ago. Officials at a Virginia school were warned on 3 separate occasions by teachers that a 6-year-old boy had a gun or had made threats, but failed to take action on the day he shot his first grade teacher in class. According to the teacher, Mrs. Werner, her attorney said that she first raised alarms about the boy nearly 3 hours before the January 6th shooting. The teacher told a school administrator that the 6-year-old had threatened to beat up another child around 11:15 to 11 a.m. The teacher's attorney said the school did not call security and did not remove the student from the classroom. At this point, there's no report of a firearm, so I'm sure there's discussion of a kid beating up another kid all the time, and maybe nothing happens. Okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Hey, so-and-so, little Jimmy said he's going to beat up little Bobby. Okay. You hear that, you keep an eye on them. Maybe you don't go frisk them or call them in for questioning or pin them down, whatever you want to do. However, around 12:30 p.m., another teacher, after apparently receiving a message that the boy had a gun, searched his backpack and flagged school administrators. Now, I don't know what places this 6-year-old could have had to be able to conceal that firearm. It sounds like it more than likely was not a very good search. Probably just looked at the backpack. Kid could have had it stuffed in his waistband. Who knows? If the kid learned how to have a gun, use a gun, conceal a gun, he probably knew how to put it somewhere where maybe it couldn't be found, whether it's television, watching it in the neighborhood, or whatever. But nevertheless, you search a backpack because there's a report of a gun, you don't find one, you don't just give up, right? So 2 chances were missed, right? Especially 1, but possibly 2. Next up, the teacher then tells the administrator that she believes the boy put the gun in his pocket before going outside for recess. Now, she missed it in the backpack, so whenever the teacher says, well, I think he put it in his pocket, you already had someone else complain that the boy had a gun. Since you didn't find it in the backpack, wouldn't you now logically think to search the boy since somebody else now says it's on his person? But the administrator downplayed the report from the teacher and the possibility of a gun, saying, well, he has little pockets. Well, they make little guns. Now, after all those missed opportunities, a third teacher told administrators that about 1 p.m., there was a crying and fearful student who bravely confessed to his teachers that the boy showed him the gun at recess and threatened to shoot him if he told anyone. The teacher's attorney said administrators again failed to take any action or notify authorities. So you've got a kid, not the one who did the shooting, but another child who came forward and said, I saw the gun. You've already had people report that there's a gun in a backpack. You had people report that there's a gun in a kid's pocket. Now you have a third option here where somebody actually laid eyes on it and they came to you and told you that, yet you still, as an administrative group of people at a school, ignored it. A fourth employee who heard about the gun asked an administrator for permission to search the boy less than an hour before the shooting and was denied. The employee was told to wait the situation out because the school day was almost over. Sure don't want to mess up the end of the school day, right? I mean, we can't let a little old school shooting get in the way of going home on time, right? I mean, God forbid the day get extended because we have some kind of a search and we find a gun and lock everything down, right? We cannot inconvenience people in exchange for safety. I have several comments on this, and unfortunately, some of them are going to point back at these teachers and these other individuals who got involved and just told administrators instead of just taking it upon themselves to do it. Let me tell you a lesson. You need, as administrators, teachers, whatever, if somebody comes to you and tells you that anybody has a firearm, if your first line of defense is to go tell an administrator who then refuses to investigate and then just you walk away, you are in the wrong profession. You should probably be cleaning hotel rooms. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's a little bit less responsibility involved. Maybe you should be cleaning swimming pools. A little bit less responsibility. Maybe you should be pruning hedges or cutting grass. A little bit less responsibility there. Not a lot of people are dying when you screw up in those professions. But as a teacher, your responsibility should always be, first and foremost, the safety of those children. And we are talking about 6-year-olds here, not 17-year-olds. You are their first line of defense. They have no defense other than you at this point. We've made them gun-free zones, which are kill zones, so we know you can't protect them any other way other than looking out for them. This 6-year-old could not have overpowered. It's impossible that the 6-year-old physically could have overpowered anybody in this school. And if you couldn't see the gun, that means the gun wasn't out. It wasn't presented to you, which means it's very unlikely this kid had a whole lot of tactical training and he had access to that gun in a flip of a switch. It's very unlikely that this kid would have mowed you down had you attempted to restrain him somehow. Take his backpack from him. Grab his arms. Hold his arms to where, and to tell somebody else to search him. All these teachers who said that he had a firearm and did nothing about it, they are just as big a cowards and to blame as the administrators who refused to investigate them. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. You guys turn your back on these children. You are very fortunate and lucky that this 6-year-old only shot his teacher. All those other children that this kid walked by with a gun in his possession could have been shot, including you as a teacher. You, the other teachers that turn your back on this, you people are as much to blame. The school district has announced that since this took place, it is purchasing 90 metal detectors to install at all of the schools. Remember I talked about that? I said how they had pretty much access to metal detectors, which meant they had wands. That's what that means. If you have access to something, but not all of the kids are subject to it, that means you don't have your doorways enclosed in metal detectors and you just have a wand that you can periodically and randomly search somebody with. Now, in a reactionary action, you are now taking it upon yourself to be proactive. I guess now you're going to take credit for making your school more safe. You're securing your school finally. Let's not forget, guys, that this form of securing the schools is what we've been calling for all along. The wackos and anti-gunners would rather see guns get banned, so they actually vote for and lobby against metal detectors in schools because they feel like they're ultimately after the firearms. So if they give in to allow metal detectors, while that does make the school safer and makes all the children safer, it actually gives that inch back to the pro-gun people because now we're not calling quite so hard for the guns to be banned because the metal detectors are actually working. They're afraid the metal detectors are going to work. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the disgusting nature of the anti-gun movement. They are fearful that metal detectors will work, which will take away from their argument to ban guns. Therefore, they can't possibly have metal detectors to prove them wrong. So they push against metal detectors and against the security and safety of our very own children. They're putting our children in harm's way because, as I've said many times, the body count is important to them. They do not mind the body count. Yes, they feign the outrage and the tears, but they're okay with the body count because the body count helps them with their narrative of banning guns. Again, if we put metal detectors and effectively secure these schools, then suddenly that cry to ban guns is going to quietly go away because schools ain't going to get shot up quite as much.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's over!